The kingdom of my divine will in the midst of creatures. Book of Heaven, Volume 36, Part 4. May 15th, 1938. How the Word of God is life enclosing all the centuries. How it looks to all human generations. How Jesus does not know how to deal with those who do not love him. How Jesus is always there for the needs of the creatures. I felt immersed in the divine will. Its light made me comprehend many of its truths, but I also felt incapable of enclosing them in my little mind, and reluctant to manifest them in writing on paper. Then my sweet Jesus, visiting my poor soul, all tenderness and compassion for my incapacity, told me, "Poor daughter, she gets confused before the immensity of my will, and would like to stay there resting in peace, to enjoy all the joys and the happiness with which she is filled. No, my daughter, work is necessary too. In heaven there is always joy, but on earth there is an alternation of joys and work. For you, manifesting and writing is work, while entering my will is possessing the purest joys and the greatest happiness. However, I never leave you alone in your work. I actually do more than you do, and without me you could have done nothing. You must know that our love is so great that when we decide to give a word, to manifest a truth from our Supreme Majesty, we also provide the act in which to do it, enclosing in ourselves the good which that truth has to produce. When the good we have to give to creatures, through those truths we manifest, is all mature and completed, then we give this good to one of them, and she becomes the bearer of that good for the benefit of all human generations. Therefore, our words enclose all centuries, and being words of life, they possess a creative strength. Wherever they reach out, they will create life and bring the goodness of our truth. So stopping our words by not manifesting them means stopping all the good and lives that our words can produce. I know, my daughter, that you would never want to give me such a sorrow by preventing this great good from reaching the human generation. Would you? One who loves me cannot refuse me anything, not even the sacrifice of her own life. Therefore be attentive, since you do not want to be responsible for so many of our divine lives, which are destined to give life to creatures. After this, I felt in so much pain, it was as if I was going to breathe my last. Jesus immediately ran to sustain me in his arms and said, "What is it? Tell me. Do you want to come?" And I, "Yes, heaven willing that you make up your mind to take me." And Jesus, "My daughter, and what are we going to do with the earth?" And I don't know anything, and I'm good at nothing. And then, what do I care about the earth? He said, "My daughter, but you should care, because your Jesus cares. And my concerns and your concerns must be one. Now, you have to know that the divine will has not yet been completely manifested, although it will be soon. And the more it is manifested, the more souls get caught in the nets of its light. Not only this, but the more it matures and grows in one creature, the more all the others acquire the right to receive it. And we feel more moved to grace the human generations, letting them possess our life and will, our goodness, and our love is such that in one creature we look at all, and for love of one we also benefit all the others. But who then overflows with this good for all? The one who has been the first to receive that good, the one who listened to us and cherished our truths more than her own life, the one who, never looking for her own life, was ready to sacrifice it in every instant for love of us, to let us make of her what we wanted. This has so much power on our Supreme Being. It moves us so much that one alone is enough to let everybody receive that good. Furthermore, the human generations are so linked together, more than the limbs to the body, that it is no wonder that one healthy and good member makes its vital and holy humors flow into the others. In the same way, the strength of one single creature living in our will is omnipotent, to the extent that it can overwhelm heaven and earth. It conquers all, God as well as creatures. Therefore, let me finish, and I will take you soon. Then he added, my daughter, the more one suffers, the more he feels the need to be loved. I am the one who suffered more than anybody else, and my pains, my spilled blood, and my tears turned into loving voices, imploring love from those I love so much, and who made me suffer and cry so much. Those who love me bring the sweetest relief to my pains. They dry my tears, while my blood turns into a bath of love for them. But do you know who turns my suffering and tears into joy and gladness? Those who live in my will. They always find in it love with which to love me, sustaining me in my suffering and giving me continuous relief. Then I feel like a triumphant king who, although wounded, won the will of the creature by the weapons of his sufferings and love. Oh, how happy I am in feeling loved and living together with the ones for whom I sustained such a painful and bloody battle. I created everything to be loved, and if love is lacking, I don't really know what to do with the creature. I cannot find what I want. At the most, there might be different varieties of love. Love of reparation, of compassion, of imitation. But it is always love that I want, and if I do not find it, it is just not for me, given that love is the child of my will. If I find this child, I have found the mother, and so I find everything, all that belongs to me, and I rest and rejoice in her, and she does the same in me, and we love each other with one single love. And I, my beloved Jesus, if you yearn so much for love and for creatures to do your will, why don't you inundate them with your graces, so that they feel the strength to operate and love you as you want? And Jesus, my daughter, I feel like giving to the creature the necessary strength, or rather an overabundant strength, only in the moment when she sets herself to do what I want, not before. Otherwise she would feel the strength, but still not do what I want, and I do not know how to give useless things. How many, before doing an action, feel so helpless? But then as soon as they put themselves to work, they feel invested by a new strength, a new light. I am the one who charged them, since I never lack the necessary strength to do good. Rather, this need ties me and forces me, if necessary, to act together with them. But if what they do is not necessary, then I put myself aside and let them do by themselves. After this, I was thinking to myself, how miserable I am. I feel like I haven't done anything for Jesus, for all the graces he gave me. Who knows how much I should love him? Instead, I am so cold. It's true that I can't love anyone other than Jesus, but I should be all on fire, and I'm not. As I was thinking that, he came back, and reproaching me sweetly said, "My daughter, what are you doing? Do you want to waste time? Don't you know that all you should care about is knowing whether or not a state is in my will and doing it? In my will, everything is love. Breathing, heartbeat, motion, even the human will wants nothing other than to love me. My will, jealous of the creature, surrounds her with an air of love, so that I breathe only that love. Your Jesus never looks at what the creature feels, because many times feelings can deceive her. I look at her will and what she really wants. That's all I take. How many things there are which she feels, but does not do. But if she wills, all is done. Further, in my will, nothing gets lost. For whoever lives in it, everything is counted. Breaths, heartbeats, the little I love you. All things done in it remain written with indelible characters of light, and form the very life of my will. Often the gifts I have given to the creature, as well as her acts, remain hidden as her property in the depth of her will. She feels as if she has not done anything. But that is not true. At the right time, these acts will show their light inside that soul, brighter than the sun. And sanctity is there, in its place of honor. Virtues are all there, ready to act heroically in case of need. My will knows how to maintain harmony and its divine order. Wherever it reigns, and whatever it does, acquires the seal of eternity. Therefore live in it, and do not worry about anything. My will take care of you better than you would yourself. May 17th, 1938. How the soul is voice, singing, hands to play, while the body is the organ. How the divine will wants the smallest acts to let its sun rise. The sowing of the sun on the earth. Sowing of the divine will. The marriage that God is preparing with His truths. Continuing my flight in the divine volition, I feel it invading me inside and outside, to take its royal place in my smallest acts, as well as in the natural ones, and even maybe in my little trifles. If it didn't do so, it could not reign in fullness within the creature. Now, my dear Jesus, repeating his short little visit, all goodness said, "My daughter, everything came out of ourselves and was shaped by our creative hands, both the soul and the body. Both of them must be ours. In fact, we made the body as the organ, and each act done in the divine will was to form one key. It had to contain many notes and concerts of music, all different from one another. The soul, in union with the body, was supposed to be voice and song. By playing those keys, it was to create the most beautiful melodies. Now, an organ without a player is like a dead body. It's not fun, neither does it attract anyone. On the other hand, one who is good at music cannot exercise his art as a musician if he doesn't have an instrument to play. Therefore, a living someone who speaks and moves is needed to create beautiful music. But the instrument is necessary too, with its keys, notes, and so on. Both of them are necessary. Such is the soul and the body. There is such harmony, order, and union that one cannot do without the other. So be attentive. I watch your steps, your words, the movement of your pupils, your tiniest acts, in order for my will to have its life, its place. We don't care whether the act is natural or spiritual, big or small, but we watch attentively to see whether all is ours, whether our will made arise its sun of light, sanctity, and love. We use even the most insignificant act to make the most prodigious wonders, forming the most beautiful scenes to keep us all amused. Didn't we form the marvelous enchantment of the whole creation from nothing? Wasn't it from nothing that we created so many harmonies, up to our very image, in the creation of man? My daughter, if creation had to give us only what is spiritual, that would have been very little. Instead, by giving us also its natural acts, it can always give. We can be in continuous relation, and our bond never breaks. More so, since the small things, breathing, moving, helping oneself in little personal things, are always available and within reach, available for the little and the great, for the ignorant and the learned, and they never end. If these little things are done to love us, they form in themselves the life of the divine will, our victory and triumph, the ultimate purpose of their creation. See then how easy it is to live in our will. The creature doesn't have to do new things, but just what she always does. That is to say, to live her life as we gave it, but in our will. Fiat. After this, my Jesus continued, My daughter, every day the sun gives light, heat, sweetness, fragrances, color, fecundity, and different flavors. And with this, it embellishes the earth. By just touching with its light and molding with its heat, it fecundates the plants and the whole of nature. It sweetens the fruits and gives a variety of colors and fragrances to flowers, forming a sweet enchantment for human generations. The same thing happens with my will, which, immensely exceeding the sowing of the sun, sows light, love, varieties of beauty and sanctity in the one who lives in it. It gives to each seed a divine fecundity. Oh, how beautiful it is to see this embellished creature fecundated by our divine sowing. How special she is, forming the enchantment of our divine pupils. Now, my daughter, in order to receive the sowing of the sun, the earth, the flowers, and the plants must let themselves be touched by its light and heat. Otherwise, the sun would remain at the height of its sphere, not being able to sow in the earth. The earth would remain sterile, without fecundity and beauty, since union and agreement from both sides are needed to give and receive any good. Without these, one cannot give, and the other cannot receive. In the same way, in order for the soul to receive the sowing of my will, she has to live in it, being always united with perfect agreement. She must let herself be molded in order to receive a new fecund life. Otherwise, as with the sun, my will does not sow, and the creature remains sterile, without beauty, in the darkness of her human will. This is why I want the creature to live in my will. Furthermore, I myself become the farmer in charge of the sowing. I make sure it does not get wasted, in order to produce the most various beauties." Then he added with more loving tenderness, "My good daughter, my love wants to be tied more and more to the creature, and the more truths it manifests regarding my will, the more bonds I put between God and herself. In manifesting the truth, my love is preparing the marriage between God and the soul. The more it manifests, the more pomp and magnificence this marriage will have. Would you like to know what happens then? My truths will be like the dowry needed in order to marry God, to get to know the one who lowers himself and even ties himself only for love in the bond of marriage. My truths touch the creature over and over. They mold her to new life. They return her to the beauty of our image and resemblance from the time she was created, and impress on her their kiss of inseparable union. Just one of our truths can make a sea of prodigies and divine creations in the soul who has the goodness to listen to it. One truth can turn a perverted world into a good and holy one, because it is one of our lives, exposed for the good of all. It is a new sun that we raise in created intellects, a sun that will let itself be known through its light and heat, turning into light and heat whoever wants to listen. Therefore, hiding a truth that we give from our paternal womb with so much love is the greatest crime. It deprives human generations of the greatest good. Further, one who lives in our will, by marrying us, makes a feast for all saints. All of them participate in this divine wedding, and because of it, they have their own party in heaven and another one on earth. Each act the creature does in our will is a feast, a table sumptuously decked for the heavenly regions. In return, the saints give new gifts. They beseech the Lord to manifest more truths to the soul, to broaden more and more the boundaries of the dowry which God gave to her. Fiat. You have reached the end of the Book of Heaven, Volume 36, Part 4. Fiat.